I'm filmmaker Jason Horton, and you're watching The Red Booth Show.
Hi, welcome to The Red Booth Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Q. On tonight's episode, I have filmmaker, director Jason Horton, who has been continuously releasing movies for a very long time and making a good living out of it, and it's a really great story, so you should come and listen to his interview. So hey Jason, how's it going?
Very good. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Thanks for having me on.
Definitely. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, it's great.
I think that it's cool to get to hear your kind of story because you are an independent filmmaker.
Yes.
And you have been, making your way for a long time, creating your own movies, and you've done pretty well for yourself. Yeah. And I think that you have some cool stories for people to hear.
Definitely.
So why don't you tell us about your latest project? I know you have a pretty big thing that you just did recently with your company. What's the name of your company?
The company is called Gas Money Pictures. Mm-hmm. I founded it with my partner, James Bills. We started, like 2.5 years ago, I guess. We were both, freelance filmmakers, and you know how that goes. You have really good months, you have really bad months, and we had pretty good resumes together, so we combined forces, and pretty much anything I brought in, he gets half of, anything he brought in, I got half of. And so we went and did that for about a year, and we were doing pretty well. I had finished a horror movie. We were going to sell the horror movie at AFM, mm-hmm. and we were shopping some slates, and James had this 2-minute animation piece that we had done like years ago, on a lark. And we got so much positive feedback from that animation thing and a couple of contracts on the table. So we pivoted from live action to animation. So we started making animation over the last year.
Cool. So, that's right. And then you moved into your new studio, mm-hmm. I think in North Hollywood. Yeah. And I've been over there and toured, and it's really awesome. You have all these cartoonists working for you.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's awesome.
We went from literally in a 2-month period working out of his garage to having our own office in Burbank, and then 6 months later moving from Burbank to the North Hollywood one. So yeah, it was cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So you have a couple different cartoons that you guys are doing, and I think you even had offers from some of the big cartoon. Yes. I can't really say.
Yeah, I can't. We're right in the middle of closing a couple of deals on a couple of different shows. I can talk about the shows. Right. We're doing one called Hollywood, which is basically it's animated fruits and nuts set in LA. And a couple of struggling peanut screenwriters, just going through the day-to-day trials. It's kind of South Parky, a little bit more.
It's just satirical.
Yeah, satirical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more surreal than South Park, but a similar animation style, kind of the cut-out stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, and we are...
They're making fun of Hollywood pretty much.
Yes, yeah, totally. And we got a pretty good voice cast for it. Corin Nemec from Parker Lewis back in the day, he's in it. David Faustino, Harlan Williams. We got Tone Loc.
No way! What is Tone Loc's character?
He's playing Brock Banana. He's
a banana.
Yeah, he's like the second in command to the studio head.
Nice.
So
so all the characters are actually fruits and nuts.
Yeah. So everybody from LA is either a fruit or nut, and then people from Europe are vegetables for some reason.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we finished 10 22-minute episodes of that, and we're in the middle of working a deal on that right now.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
And then I think you even had some other cartoon projects.
Yeah, we have a ton. There's a feature script that I wrote several years ago. I was doing low budget live action stuff, and the company had hired me to write this children's movie, and so I started writing it, and then we had a disagreement over it, and I just kind of shelved it and went on and did something else for them. And years later, when we started moving over into animation, we were thinking, I need a feature script, and that came to mind. It was called Mr. Wiggles Saves the World, and it was about these renegade aliens that are on the run from this imperialistic, evil galactic, bad guys, and the alien hides out in a human or in a shell on Earth, you know, like in a body, and he picks an adult man, but like there's something goes wrong, and he ends up in this pit bull puppy, and so he has to save the world.
That's Mr. Wiggles.
Yeah, Mr. Wiggles. Yeah,
is a pit bull puppy. That's so cute.
And then so I finished that script, and we did a proof of concept animation on it. We were getting a lot of interest in it, and then one of the companies that we're talking to now wants to serialize it, so we're doing a series version of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So like when you go out there with your proof of concept and you pitch it to the different sort of, I guess, networks, right?
Yeah.
The different, I mean, you'd have like Adult Swim, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've been in Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, Netflix, Hulu, like we've been all over the place.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and usually it's like with animation, and it's a lot like live action, you know, it can be a long process, like getting something going. And there's different levels, like maybe they'll want to buy your project as is, maybe they'll want to develop it, maybe you'll be the production company, maybe you won't.
Maybe they'll just want the idea.
Exactly,
right,
yeah. Like one of our head animators, he was working on the HBO show Animals.
Okay.
And, but like they did the pilot for that, I mean, I don't know how long ago, but a long time ago. And then, you know, basically, like, you know, they pitched it to the network, and then they didn't hear anything, I mean, for a long time, or maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months, maybe a little longer, and then picked it up. So, you know, I can, you know, for example, on Hollywood, our first meeting with our company happened right after AFM, not last year, but this last one.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a constant, you know, thing you have to do is get it out there and pitch.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, we actually have to take a quick break.
Cool.
But we'll be right back with filmmaker and animator Jason Horton. And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I'm here with filmmaker and animator Jason Horton. So you were just talking about pitching and going to AFM and trying to get your animated films picked up.
So yeah, another thing that we started doing, and again, like we got into animation as live action filmmakers. You know, we watched animation, but we had really no idea how the business side of it worked. So something that we were making, you know, we'd make a full, you know, 30-minute episode, and then we'd go pitch it. You know, and then now, you know, we're talking to, or not now, but then 6 months later, we're talking to people and saying, well, you know, maybe if you just had a proof of concept and it was like 2 or 3 minutes long. So we started making several proof of concepts. So like while we're waiting for one of our bigger deals to close, we make like once a week, we do 3 1-minute pieces from different properties. Yeah. And then, you know, we put some of those up social media, or, you know, we have a YouTube channel. And then at the end of every month, we take those, package them together, and then put them out on something like Amazon, like as an anthology set. And again, just kind of seeing like what's going to gain traction, you know, what's going to resonate with people, and not necessarily about making money, but about figuring out what projects to get behind.
Yeah, like what do people start to watch the most? And that's a good way to test it out, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and it's much cheaper than doing, you know, like with Hollywood, for example, we had some interest in it, but we made the first, you know, 6 episodes of that on spec. You know, so we were shooting.
Yikes.
Yeah. So
luckily it paid off.
Yeah, luckily it paid off, but it could have went the other way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's good, though. I think that's really smart for you to, you know, test out the market and see what responses you're getting and put it up on Amazon.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome. Now, I know that you have been doing filmmaking for a long time, you know, obviously before you were doing the animation.
Yes.
And I think that you had told me some really cool stories about, like, basically making your feature films and sort of going out there and doing a similar thing where you try things out and see how it works, and and you start making money off of your Amazon or you know, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about independent cinema right now, and you know, or even 10 years ago, is when it started moving into HD and digital, is, I mean, the costs were so low. I mean, if you could pull together some resources, you could make your movies.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah, because everyone had to pay for film before, and now it's digital. I mean, it has been now for a while.
Yeah. And so I was in college. I had graduated. I was in New Orleans in 2003, and so I was working part-time as an assistant editor at a lawyer video production company. And every year, this guy would sink like $10,000 into a reality show pilot, and never got one picked up. He just liked playing producer. He had some disposable income, so he liked spending it. And it was the same year that Panasonic had released the first 24p digital DV camera. And so I kept saying that, I could make a feature for that $10,000. Like, give me $10,000, let me make a feature. And I'd bug, and I was really precocious at the time, so I kept on him and kept bugging him. And he's sick of hearing it. He's like, you know what, kid, I'm sick of hearing it. And he gave me $4,000.
So in other words, be really annoying. I'm just kidding.
So we made the movie for $4,000. It was called the original title was Shelter, a Monster Movie, and then the distributor changed it to Rising Undead. But anyway,
$4,000.
$4,000, and I got it picked up and got it
What?
sold. It was my first thing, and I was,
That's like that mariachi movie. They
yeah,
made
like El Mariachi,
right?
although it's nowhere as good as. I mean, I'll just be straight honest. The movie was not good. At the time, I thought it was like the best thing ever.
Right.
But it got out. It made a little bit of money, and then I was thinking about making the move to LA, and Katrina happened. So then, right after Katrina, I made the move to LA.
Wow.
And I thought LA would be like, welcome, come direct movies for us. And I mean, I couldn't even get arrested. Like I was working at Starbucks. I worked there for another 2 years after that. But like on weekends, in the meantime, I was like, I was working on other people's stuff. I had learned how to edit from the first movie, so I was editing for other people. I was shooting on the weekends. I was meeting other producers. I found a producer to invest a little bit of money in a zombie anthology I was working on called Edges of Darkness. That was in 2008. So we made that. It did pretty well. We sold it to Anchor Bay. I was still working at Starbucks.
That's pretty good, though. I mean, you sold it to Anchor Bay, so...
I mean, the one thing that I didn't understand, at least on my first, 3 projects, I sold them right out the bat. I mean, I made them on spec and I sold them, so I thought that's how it worked.
That's awesome. There's a lot of people that don't do that.
No, I know. Well, then I hit my 4th movie, and it was my first non-genre picture. It was kind of a drama thriller. And we made that one for about $6,000. And honestly, I still think it's one of my better movies. But it took.
Did you just do everything yourself? Is that how you did it for $6,000?
Pretty much. Pretty much. I was shoot. I am not a DP, but I would shoot them.
Yeah.
And then I would just color correct the hell out of it. But yeah, no, I was doing it. I would hire a sound guy. I would pay the actors and food. And that was pretty much it. I would cobble together the lights and everything and just do them.
Wow.
Yeah, at least those for now. Edges of Darkness had a little bit more money, but Trap, not so much.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, we have to take another break.
Sure.
We'll be right back with filmmaker Jason Horton. And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I'm here with Jason Horton, who is a filmmaker. And you were just telling us about sort of the process of pitching your films and getting them picked up. And the last one we were talking about was, I think, Trap?
Yeah, I was talking about, so Trap I'd finished. I was really proud of the movie. I think it was my best movie up to that point, but I could not get it sold. Every distributor, they'd say the same thing. They were like, I didn't have enough of their sellable elements in it. I didn't have a big enough cast for that genre. They're like, we love the movie, but we can't do nothing with it. And I was getting a little despondent about it. And so I ran into this sales agent, and I wish I could remember this guy's name because I owe him my next movie. He kept saying, he said, so yeah, I can't do nothing with this, but and the movie was about a middle-aged man, a kidnapper, and they had kidnapped this teenage girl, and the guy fell in love with the girl. So it was just this dark drama thing. He's like, do you think maybe you could cut monsters into it? It was so ridiculous, but you know, at the time I was so desperate, I actually entertained the notion for a minute. So I was like, okay, how would I do this? And I was thinking about it, and eventually I went as far as outlining, and then I was just like, that isn't gonna work. I'm just gonna make another movie with monsters. So that became Monsters in the Woods, which was my follow-up, and you know, I made that about a filmmaker who had made a drama movie, couldn't sell it, and was going into the woods to shoot monster scenes to put in basically like what had happened to me.
Right.
Yeah, and then made that. And then like right after we finished Monsters in the Woods, then I actually found a distributor for Trap. So it just took longer, but it did get out.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then you made a profit on that one too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, we made it for $4,000, so it wasn't not going to make a little bit of a profit, I hope.
Did you get it like distributed in other countries, or how did you?
Yeah, Trap I did through AMG Film Partners, who they had just hired me to direct movies for them right
Cool.
after Trap, and I had edited a couple of movies in between.
Nice.
So they did distribution, so they picked it up, and you know, it was mostly domestic. Like it was in like, you know, like Walmart, Redbox, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then so you did Monsters in the Woods.
Yes, and then so actually right before I did Monsters in the Woods, I forgot about this one. So I had edited a bunch of African American Christian movies, just something I kind of fell into. And there was another company that was trying to make the same kind, and they knew that I had done a bunch of these, so they hired me to direct a romantic comedy called Shoulda Put a Ring on It, with Robin Givens and Miguel Munez.
Nice.
Now, you know, they're on the cover box, but they were both in the movie for like 5 minutes.
Oh
it was
my
one
God.
of those things. Yeah. But we did it. We shot the movie. It was like, and I was the first director that they hired that actually, you know, came in on budget, made the movie look okay, and they were really happy with me. So right after Monsters in the Woods, they hired me for a long string of movies. So I directed like 10 for them guys.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so see, to me, I've always thought of you as kind of like a workhorse director. Like you're just like, I want to get some movies out there. I'm going to get some, you know, sell them. I'm going to get them made. You're not sort of just the pretentious guy that's like, I want to be a director or whatever. Like you're just like, I'm doing it. I'm out there.
Yes.
I'm just working.
Yeah.
And getting these movies made, and you just keep doing it. And I think it's a great example of how people should approach making films.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, I have some, you know, pretentious aspirations just like anybody else, you know.
Well, having a goal is not bad.
Yes,
that's not what I mean. What I mean is you.
But I'm gonna like.
It's not about your ego, is what I mean.
No, totally not.
Yeah.
For me, it's always about the work, and just like in life, you know, it's more about your journey than your destination. So yes, with every fiber of my being, I want my movies to be good, and I want them to turn out well, but I want to make them. I like being on set. I like editing them. You know, I like the process. You know, so I want to keep that going. To me, that's the most important thing, and bringing other people in and helping other people.
I think that's awesome because you've always kept yourself busy. You've always continued to be working on a new film or a new project, and there's tons of people who want to do this industry, but they're just, they don't have the work. So the fact that you're continuously always making new films, like, it's really awesome, actually.
Yeah. Well, I think what a lot of people fail to realize coming into the business is they're waiting for someone to give them permission to do their work.
Right.
They're waiting for them to hire them or to green light their script or pay for their script or like it's just like with actors, you got to get out and do it. You have to make your own opportunities. So that's from the very beginning. That's what I did, and then through doing that, I've been hired on some other things.
Yeah.
But getting started anyway, and even now, I just produced a short film, horror anthology thing for another director. But I mean, I totally just I self-generated that and then did it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good example because a lot of times, like you said, someone thinks they're going to get, I guess, discovered or something like that, right?
Yeah, somebody's going to...
But it's not, it's really never like that from the people I've seen.
No, very rare. Very rare.
Okay, well, we have to take another break. We'll be back with filmmaker Jason Horton. And welcome back to the Red Booth Show. I'm here with Jason Horton, who is a very busy filmmaker. And so you were just telling us about how you got hired from that last company that basically was like, do 10 movies in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was real, like, so all my other stuff I'd pretty much I'd put together the money, whether I paid for it myself or found, a producer to pay for it. But this was the first time that somebody had hired me to direct. So I was really excited, and
awesome.
It was low budget stuff, but it was cool, and I got to direct in like almost every genre. I mean, I did a talking dog movie, I did church movies, we did this like erotic thriller, we did just pretty much you name it, like we did it. And so yeah, I directed, I think it was 10 movies for those guys, and I edited more because they had other filmmakers in other states that were doing movies. Like wow. I was their favorite. But
what was the name of the company that you were doing these for?
Their name changed. So the AMG Film Partners I was talking about before, that was their umbrella.
Right.
The producer though was David Garcia. Him and his brother Dan were rappers from New Orleans. I think from New Orleans. And they were called Cain and Abel. They were part of the Master P crew.
Nice, that's awesome.
And so they had somehow they had come into a little bit of money, and they put it into making movies. So Dan went and was making some bigger budget things, and then David was working his way up, started on micro budget and then working up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then so these 10 movies that you made, like where did they go and what happened?
Yeah, so again, we're not talking theatrical release stuff. It was all, they'd be in Redbox, they'd be in Walmart, they would be, foreign distribution, like stuff like that.
Cool.
Yeah, like if it was today, it would be like, they would be on Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then there was that one horror movie, I think last year, or was it it was the year before, in 2017, you had wrapped that horror film that you guys shot.
Yeah, The Campus. Yeah, so The Campus, so I hadn't, after working with AMG, I'd done 10 for them, and honestly I was getting a little burned out on low budget, so I went to Vegas for a year and I shot a couple of reality shows there.
Interesting.
And
what was that like?
It was fun. I'm not a bit. I don't really like reality shows. I didn't like it creatively, but it paid pretty well, and it was a break. I was a little burned out.
You needed a change, yeah. I mean, 10 movies, that's a lot.
Well, and we were doing, sometimes we would do, like 2 movies in a month sometimes. Like we would shoot sometimes 6-day schedules, and so like there was one month where we shot a 6-day movie, an 8-day movie, and then 2 like 1 and 2 day movies, like all in a month.
Wait, a 1-day movie?
Yeah, it sounds crazier than it is. I mean, basically what they do is, you'll get like a soundstage that'll have a couple of different sets, and you'll shoot them almost like a sitcom. You'll shoot them like 3 cameras, and you'll do, 2 pieces of coverage on every scene. So with, you'd get 12. And then being an editor and knowing the cameras pretty well, I could get a pretty cinematic thing from it. I'm not saying the movies are the best things in the world, but it looks better than what you would imagine. And then they could bring in name talent, and that name talent
because they're using the money for the talent instead.
Yeah, and they would have them for 1 day.
Right.
So like you'd pay some name actor or whatever $25,000, where if you were doing a full like 30-day schedule, that person would be in like 1 or 2 scenes, but here they could be in the entire movie. So. Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, so I was.
But it's all like indoor sets, basically.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah,
crazy.
And then you'd shoot a little bit exterior, and then you'd just put it together.
Right.
Yeah. So I was a little burned out.
See, he's like a workhorse. That's what I'm saying.
So I took a little time off. I went back to Indiana, where I'm from. Stayed there for a few months. Came back, and then I was ready to do another horror movie. So is
that your favorite genre?
No, not necessarily. I'm just a movie like I love movies, and like my tastes are very, very broad. As a filmmaker, if I'm producing something, I always kind of tend to gravitate a little more towards horror, and it's kind of the business side of me, just because I know regardless of what the marketplace is doing, there's always a spot.
I always notice that about you. You're always thinking about how you're going to sell the movie, which I think is very different from the approach that a lot of other people have. Sometimes they're just like, I have this amazing idea and I'm going to make it, and it will just magically be sold.
It will manifest. I mean,
it's a great purpose, but it doesn't always guarantee that you're going to get the movie out there.
No, and I totally respect that take. But the other thing is when you're, maybe it's just the way I was raised, but like if I'm responsible for someone else's money, if someone is giving me money to do something, I feel like I have a responsibility to return that money.
Yeah.
You know, so I do think, so yeah, I do think like that.
That's awesome.
And you know, I have all kinds of passion projects, but yeah, where's the market for it? Who's going to buy it? How much are they going to pay for it? You know, and you know, maybe I'll get to a point where I'll have enough disposable income that maybe I can do some things a little more irresponsibly, but right now
or creatively,
right. Sorry, yeah.
That would be But I think, you know, you are able to sort of play this piano of how does this business work really well, and it's super cool. That's why I'm so glad you got to come on the show and just give everybody that as an example of how you can make a living being a director.
Yeah, and I'm not a rich man. I'm not driving out of here in a Bentley. I live in the hills, but it's not a mansion, you know. But there's a whole class of filmmakers and actors out there that are making livings, but we're not rich. You might not know us, you might not recognize our names, but we're out there making stuff, and you know, you are living the dream.
Yeah, you're getting to be creative and do what you love every day. Yeah. And you never know, one of these projects might come along and just, you know, put you all over the map. So that's really cool. And I think probably your new cartoon is going to be something like that.
Yeah. So I think it's going to do very well.
That's awesome. Well, it's been so great having you on the show. Thanks for being here. And you guys should go and find him at where can they find you? Okay,
so personally, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. It's always the J Horton. I go by J Horton because there's a YouTube comedian named Jason. And then
F that guy.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Our company's www.gasmoneypictures.com, and then I have a filmmakerson.com where I've just recently branched off into podcasting and interview stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me.